Welcome to the session 10, Background Information. Last week, in the session 9, we covered writing cases with multiple parts and case questions for debrief. This program on case writing is brought to you by METL Global Perspectives. The objective is enhancing executive capability and decision-making skills with in-company case studies. To know more, reach us at www.metl.in. 11 essential details. While a case is about a situation, there is always a background that has led to the situation. In this section, I will discuss the background material and information that the case writer needs to skillfully build into the case. These must not be written chronologically. Though all the essential information must be there and in all completeness as required for the case analysis. There are 11 distinct details that needs to be included in the body of the case study. These are about evolution, people, process, machines, materials, measure, method, vision, mission, values, and financials. Now that's quite a handful. I will walk you through every bit of it so that you understand how much of it has to be there in the body of the case, and in case if it is relevant but not really finding its place into the body of the case, then it should be placed in the appendix. Evolution. Evolution is about how the organization started and the crucial decisions that led it to become where it is today. These are the foundations on which the enterprise was built. For instance, Nokia evolved from a paper mill to a telecom giant. 3M evolved from a mining company to a highly diversified, innovation-led organization, and there are many such instances. Tesla started as an EV maker, while several of its competitors would evolve from oil-based to EV as an addition in their portfolio of offerings. Adequate information should be provided for the readers to understand the ethos, the culture of the company, and how decisions have been made in the past. In case the organization is a family-led business, then a bit about the family needs to be included into the case body or the appendix. People. People comprises the leadership team and the deployment team that was working at the ground level during the case situation. Ultimately, the decision made by the leaders get implemented, and these decisions are the result of numerous years of experience and beliefs that the leaders hold central to themselves. In the context of grounding of 737 MAX, what would you think about the leadership, motivation, and decision making about the CEO of Boeing? Remember, Boeing was built on a culture of safety for centuries, for decades. And suddenly, with this 737 MAX episode, a lot of that starts getting questioned. In the case situation, if a writer sees a conflict between the reader's view and the stated values of an organization, the same should be explored in the body of the case. Can you think of the case or a situation where there's a conflict between what the leader says and what the leader does? What are the stated values of the organization and what is the person doing actually on field? These are very important to grab when you're writing the case study. Process. Process is about the way work is carried out in the organization. Remember, all work is a process. How does the raw material move and get converted to the finished goods that are sold in the marketplace? The crucial activities where the deep expertise of the organization comes into play and adds significant value to the consumer. Is it just about the largeness of the organization that keeps it sustained and moving? Or is there something very unique? Or is there some discovery that they have with them, which is giving rise to the continuity of the organization over decades? These are important aspects to be identified. In case the process is licensed from another organization, the same needs to be mentioned as well. Machine. Machine means the plant and equipment that is used for the processes. The technology, reliability, exclusivity, and the licensing. Also the complexity, the inherent complexity in the machines. Maybe these are very few such machines are there in the world, and therefore the organization considers these as great assets to have. The need for the overhaul and the maintenance, in case any special purpose machines were put to use, they need to be mentioned. Availability of the machine determines the nature of the task that can be handled. In one of the cases that I was writing, I came to know that the housing, the mill housing on which the work was happening in a steel plant, was over 300 years old. It was a solid casting, which was then much before it had survived, and over so many years, the mill housing was still there. And inside that were the rolls, and which was squeezing the plate, and the thickness was reducing. It was so nice to see such an old machine still at work and the housing still intact. So these are some small elements which you can always build into the case to make it more relevant, lively, and uh, personalized. Materials. Materials means the raw materials, the consumables that go into the production process, the locations from where they are sourced, and the way they are used, reused, and recycled. Are the materials coming as individual components or as sub-assemblies? In case the organization carries out traceability of all the material and the origins, then it should be included in this part of the case. Some of the companies have extensive blockchain applications which give rise to the traceability. A little bit about that can definitely be added into the case content. For an organization with a complex supply chain with parts coming from various countries around the world, this can become a very interesting part of the case. And how an uncertainty in the supply chain can create a huge problem for the organization, whereas when things keep on moving at the normal pace, everything seems to be just so fine and things happen in clockwork. Measure. Measure means the various parameters used to judge the success of the effort being undertaken. These can be as leading or lagging indicators or in process indicators. These can be in the terms of quality parameters, production, sales, marketing, distribution, new product development, manpower productivity, innovation, invention, patents, turnaround time, or whatever is relevant for that organization and for the various departments in the organization. Yes, one need not mention all the measures, but whatever be the measures which are relevant to the case should be measured. The measure used defines the behavior of the leadership teams and the employees. In case the measure conflicts with the values and the strategy, it is a very relevant scenario for exploration in the case study. Remember the Chile cave rescue case, where to trap the miners who were there below, the organization just went all out and gave in whatever money and support was needed to get them out. Now that shows the ethics of the organization. And so that is the kind of things that are to be uh, built into the case to show what the leadership stands for, what they did for the people at that point of time, and instead of just kind of tossing the ball around here and there, which very often happens. Method. Method is the unique procedure that is followed to get the desired outcome. While the process describes the stages, the procedure describes the steps and the sequence in which it is carried out. At times, non adherence to a particular step of a documented method might give rise to the case scenario. Think about it. Very often, some of these safety cases that we see, they are largely because of non adherence to a particular step due to some reason. Maybe the person was late at work, so they just kind of went in, didn't do the adequate pre checks which are needed for ensuring that the equipment was up to the mark. Then they took the equipment to the particular location without checking again. And then when they operated the equipment there, as the weather was different and it instead of being windy, it was a very stationary day, the gaseous um, oil and the gas that accumulated at a lower level, there was a spark in the machine. Had that operator checked earlier, that spark wouldn't have happened. That spark created a flare, it created a fire, and that led to the accident. Now, these are things where the method was not followed fully, and as a result of it, a particular accident and an incident happened. It's important, therefore, in cases to keep a watch on these aspects as well. Was the process followed? Was the procedure followed? If the procedure was not followed, where was the lapse? And then address it in the case body. Mission, vision, values. Mission is the overarching reason for the organization to come into existence. The mission can evolve over time or stay the same. Vision is the thought with which the organization is going ahead for the next foreseeable future. The vision then translates into a strategy and implemented with products and services anchored to the core competence and connected to the needs of the customer and consumer. Values are the set of behaviors that the employees individually and collectively have to demonstrate while carrying out business. This is valid for employees within themselves and for conducting business operations outside too. So, in a case, these three elements, when they are nicely built into the dialogue of the CXOs or such uh, appendixes, the case reader can see that what the organization was going for, what happened in reality, and where they went. Case like Kodak or the case like Fujifilm, when you compare these two, you can see how, in a similar situation, one organization survived and went around for the turnaround and all, and the other just went down. Very important to understand all of these in the context of mission, vision, values, and be able to therefore make sense of the direction that the managers and the leaders were taking. Financials are the set of numbers that the organization is pursuing or delivering. Ultimately, all business activity is tracked in the form of finances. So it's important to grab these set of numbers which is relevant to the case and bring them into the text of the case or as an appendix and refer to it at the right point. These can be revenues, cost, the break even, per unit cost, variable cost, the fixed cost, the cash flows, the assets that are there, the liabilities that the organization has, cost of capital, expected returns, ratios, inventory. You can just name it. Depending on what you want, you can always draw out from the fundamental financial analysis statements which are there in the profit and loss account, which is the balance sheet and the cash flow statement. These three are very fundamental and it should be built into the case in some way or the other, or the numbers referred to. Analysis of financials gives an idea of the overall health of the organization. A good case has all this information weaved into the case body in a storytelling manner. Some of such information can be put as an appendix, but it is necessary to provide the information. Questions? In the case that you are writing, build in the background information. Along with the story and the background information, now you will have a complete case available with you. Do you have these 11 types of information? If not, how will you gather them? Message me your queries and I'll try to revert as soon as I can. Reach me at saugata@metl.in. Next week, when I get to you on the session 11, we will talk on the management framework, existing or new. Happy case writing and hope you are enjoying the whole process. It might get a little strenuous at times, but believe me, the learning from a case is immense. Thank you so much.